What if FLUTTER was in Gen 1 OU? Now, I get why you guys wanted this video. It's a ghost type in Gen 1 without ghost type weaknesses. Its stats are amazing for Gen 9. Yeah, that's about it. I don't think anyone really thought FLUTTER would have any particularly good stab moves, considering not only are there no ghost or fairy moves in Gen 1, way more importantly, or I guess not really, but another point to consider is that both ghost and fairy are physical in Gen 1 custom games. And with that 55 attack, yeah, you're not going to do anything with it. I honestly don't get the hype, at least when it comes to putting FLUTTER in the original generation. I asked a lot of you guys on my server if you can help me come up with a tier list, because as you can see from this moveset, and by the way, these are literally the only usable moves that FLUTTER has. It's really scummy. It's not good, but it's scummy. So originally, I was just gonna have you guys help me with like some of the other viability rankings, and then I'll just make a tier list that you guys made. But then I worked on some of the replays myself, and I figured, no, I'm pretty sure I can show why FLUTTER is kind of mid with just a few replays. Unlike normal, I won't be showing you 14+, but that's because, considering for a lot of Pokemon, FLUTTER's main win con is literally Thunderwave Confuse Ray. I was not gonna sit here and wait for Chansey to hit itself in Confusion, maybe. But luckily, I feel like with some of these replays, like against Alakazam and Exeggutor, you can see why FLUTTER struggles, and where it succeeds. Because it does succeed in some areas. Mostly with the water types. Or actually no, just with the water types exactly. Technically with Thunder Wave, you are the second fastest Pokemon in the format, next to Electrode. Electrode doesn't really count, so for all intents and purposes, you are the fastest Pokemon. But does it matter as much? Not really. Like, you're faster than Jolteon, but Jolteon actually gets stabbed with its electric moves. Not to mention, it is a really good Pokemon to put up against Zapdos, since you resist both stab and you can rest on Zapdos. FLUTTER can't do that. Not only does it not resist neither Drill Peck or Thunderbolt, but Drill Peck does good damage to it, because FLUTTER's physical stats are not good. And that is terrible news in a generation where Ground and Flying are super strong physical types. You're immune to both normal and fighting, so that's good. It's good that you don't have to worry about Explosion, nor do you have to worry about Hyper Beams, or Low Kicks, or even Submission. But the normal types can still fight back. Almost all of them have Earthquake or something strong on the physical side. Tauros has Earthquake, and that's going to be pretty good. Especially since it's probably in your best interest to always go for Thunder Wave. Since, while theoretically you might be able to beat a 1v1, especially with crits, Tauros itself also has a really good crit rate. So, it's not guaranteed. Tauros can very easily beat you 1v1. So it's probably better just to go for the Paralysis, just for the case that you do get unlucky. But by doing that, you're inherently just giving Tauros another, like, a free attack with Earthquake, which could put you in a worse position. And that's just Tauros. Snorlax is much bulkier, so it's kind of hard to take it out. Alakazam, Chansey, technically Starmie, but to a lesser extent, have Recover. So that's things that we use to stall you out. And even though you're the fastest Pokemon, Thunder Wave is everywhere. And it's devastating in Gen 1. So not only are you very likely to lose your speed, meaning that even the slower Pokemon can outspeed you. Let's be real, if you're playing Gen 1, you're trying to avoid Paralysis on your Tauros, but it's still everywhere for every other Pokemon. Being able to outspeed Starmie and Alakazam and paralyze them, sure, that's good. But newsflash, your Psychic types were probably getting paralyzed anyways. And even while paralyzed, Alakazam can still lower special, or, you know, just recover. What does FLUTTER do? what does FLUTTER even do against regular Gengar? Because Gengar has two really bad weaknesses to both Psychic and Ground. But you know what? Gengar also has two really amazing tools in both Hypnosis and Explosion. And that's unique to Gengar. It's the fastest sweep user in the game. And while it's Hypnosis, Sweep is so powerful in Gen 1 that the gamble is almost always worth it. But even without that, it has Explosion, which can do an insane amount of damage, especially with a crit. Nightshade's always decent damage, which FLUTTER does as well. And yes, FLUTTER also hits harder with Thunderbolt. I'll give them that. But at that point, the main two things that FLUTTER has are the exact same attacks that Gengar usually uses, except Gengar has even more options with both Psychic and Mega Drain for Rhydons. Why would you use FLUTTER over Gengar? Because I'm telling you right now, not being weak to Psychic and Ground is not going to matter, because your matchup against Rhydon is still unwinnable. In fact, FLUTTER has a far worse matchup against Rhydon than Gengar does. And you're not like super great against the Psychics either, unless they're weak to water. Unless they're water type, weak to electric. Because Alakazam can just lower your special or heal. And even the other like physical attackers are so super threatening. Granted, Gengar is more scared of Earthquake than FLUTTER is, but the difference is not so good to where FLUTTER has a legitimate niche over Gengar. Now, I will say, even though I'm very disappointed with FLUTTER's performance and how I think it does in Gen 1, it will be just enough to keep it in OU, especially since you could use it alongside Gengar. Because in regular Gen 1, there are some people that use Haunter or Kadabra just for a second copy of a Pokemon. And that's what FLUTTER essentially is. It's basically just a much stronger Haunter, except you don't have Explosion. Does that sound very good? Probably not. But I also might be being a little too harsh. But with just how some of you are hyping it up, you guys really need to understand that Pokemon is way more than just good type combinations. Something being weak or not weak doesn't inherently make it broken or fodder. Gengar is the perfect example of a Pokemon with a bad typing that is good in spite of that. Yesterday, I did Koraidon, which is weak to both fighting and ice, but it's still one of the best Pokemon in Gen 1 OU in spite of that. And FLUTTER is the opposite, where it has a really good typing, but it's mostly just the moves that really hold it back. If it had one recovery move, or hell, even if it just had Pain Split, I would easily say that FLUTTER would be OU, no questions asked. But for now, let's just get on to the replays. Starting off with the boy himself, and I believe we only have 9 replays, because I think that's enough to prove my point. So, I guess, technically, Tauros could be considered a good matchup, since no matter what, you are always outspeeding and paralyzing it. So I will have to change the tier list when we get to it, but still, a lot of times FLUTTER gonna die. Like, if it's Fire Blast or Thunderbolt Tauros, obviously you dominate, but it's risky no matter what. And I still feel like going for Thunder Wave is still correct, but as you can see here, FLUTTER it's not exactly your free win, but against Paralysis on the strongest Pokemon is really good. Especially since you can always switch in to the normal moves. But that's probably going to be where compliments end. Because here's another normal type, and it's rough. Snorlax hits hard. It doesn't get like a high crit rate like Tauros, but still, it's still a reliable 3-hit KO. Meanwhile, Thunderbolt's only doing 22% without a crit. So you kind of have to go for Confuse Ray, which probably is not going to work out for you. It might, because it's Confuse Ray. It's super... I mean, you can see right here, that replay right there probably just shows how scummy FLUTTER really is. And that just against a physical Snorlax set. It obviously won where it's only normal moves. Snorlax just gets hard-bodied. But FLUTTER would just make only normal sets just not matter anymore. You would just never see them. So that means you'll probably have more of this. Amnesia. And with Amnesia, Flutter Mane, even with Confuse Ray, does absolutely nothing. Granted, because of your high special, it does take max special to 2-hit KO you. So that's kinda impressive. But it's not like you were going to be saved there. Not at all. Skip the Chansey replay, so let's just get straight to Alakazam. In theory, you should be good here because you're faster, but most Alakazams end up getting paralyzed anyways. The one thing I will give Flutter Mane credit for is the fact that a critical Thunderbolt will be 50%, but Alakazam has Recover. And since both are paralyzing each other, Flutter Mane being faster is actually irrelevant, because it does not matter which one of these two is faster, it only depends on the paralysis luck, and who gets that 25% chance to do nothing. Just in general, let me give you guys a friendly reminder, speed is not really that important in Gen 1, at least not compared to other generations. It's not as, irrelevant as in Gen 2, but it's, for the most part, so many things are being paralyzed, and so many things are bulky with Recover, that outspeeding isn't really the biggest deal in the world. So already, one of Flutter Mane's biggest niches is not super impactful. Or I guess what I should be saying is just not effective. Against a Pokemon like Cloyster, sure, yeah, it's really effective. Thunderbolt does really good damage, and Blizzard is a... I don't think that's a... Is that a 3... Oh, no, that is a 3-hit KO, I'm pretty sure. So that's kind of rough for Flutter Mane, but still. I guess I forgot to mention earlier, but along with its really bad physical bulk, having 53 HP is also really bad, and part of the reason why you struggle to take on Psychic types. You have really high special defense, sure, but sometimes you can really feel just the impact that HP is, doing. And look there! With 135 special defense, that's how much damage a crit did. And a non-crit is still a 3-hit KO, and that's without a special drop, which, Flutter Mane very well might get hit by. So there's absolutely nothing it can really do against Exeggutor. Only 2 more, and I think at this point you'll probably get the point. This one's against Jinx, a Psychic type that doesn't have Revival Recovery, only Rest. And here, Flutter Mane does do better, but even as you're seeing on screen, this is definitely a could go either way. Both can hurt each other a lot, and neither can really do a 2-hit KO without a crit. But Jinx, I argue, is more in favor here, because Flutter Mane has Thunder Wave, sure, but a Freeze or a Special Drop, both of those could be very fatal to Flutter Mane. And last but not least, we don't have Zapdos, but we have Victory Bell. Because this is just hilarious. Because normally Victory Bell is the main person who messes up, but even here, Razor Leaf is a 4-hit KO, or no, 3-hit KO. Yeah, it's a 3-hit KO. While Flutter Mane, Thunderbolt is resisted, so it can only use Nightshade. This is definitely a could go either way, because that's just how paralysis works, but really funny. Now, I can give a quick explanation if you want for the rest of these and the tier. I guess technically Jolt or Tauros should be good matchup. I'll give Flutter Mane that. The water type should be self-explanatory. Really fast with crit Thunderbolt goes Burr. Jolteon debatably could be in a bad matchup since it resists Thunderbolt. But both Jolteon and Flutter Mane being paralyzed, that probably just inherently makes it just even. Because you have critical Thunderbolts versus Nightshade, and I couldn't tell you which one was more consistent. You straight up have nothing for Gengar. Thunderbolt, Gengar doesn't care about. You guys can Nightshade each other, but I don't think Gengar cares that much. It can go for Hypnosis, or go for Psychic, or really anything. And then Zapdos does not take much from Thunderbolt, and Drill Peck hurts a lot. And you was even harder to ride on than Gengar does, which is hilarious. You can try to win against Rhydon with Confuse Ray, but you're not going to paralyze it, so it's just the 50% chance to hit yourself with confusion, which probably won't work. So overall, Flutter Mane, it's going to be crazy to say this out loud, but it did better than I thought. But given the tier list you see in front of you, you could probably tell I didn't have much high hopes in the first place. But what do you think? Do you think I'm being too hard on Flutter Mane? Do you think it's actually really good? Or do you think it's going to struggle a lot? Or do you think it's only going to be a scummy Pokemon? The only thing I know for sure is that it's not going to be better than Gengar. Not by a long shot. But it'll probably be better than Victory Bell, at the very least. Well, let me know what you think in the comments. I'll catch you guys next time. But until then, this is Groundback, and I look forward to hearing from you.